What's up, guys? Welcome back to Mike It Yourself. This week we are going to wrap up the audio system on our 07 Road King Blue. So if you watch my video on the lid kit, you saw that we installed the Cerwin Vega 6x9 2-ohm speakers into the saddlebags for our Road King. Now I went with the 2-ohm speakers just because less resistance means a louder speaker. Now you can do the 4-ohm, there's nothing wrong with that. Just know that the volume's not going to be as high because it's got a higher level of resistance. That is what ohms is. Your stock speakers in, say, your Road King or your Road Glide fairing or your Road Street Glide fairing, those are going to be 2-ohm speakers from Harley. So that gives you an idea of why they use them, just because they produce that higher level sound. So I went with that. Now I wanted to pair that with something that I think would complement the volume that we're looking for, and so we went with the VCU 82 2-channel amplifier from Cerwin Vega. And this thing is marine grade, so you don't have to worry about it getting wet. Now that doesn't mean you should put it on the outside of your saddlebag or anything. It's just an extra precaution because you don't want your stuff to get ruined. Sensitive electronics, and you want to make sure that you protect your investment. So this is a 600 watt RMS unit. So that's 300 by 2, and that's how we're going to hook it up. Now, in order to get the sound from our phone to this amplifier, we're filling that gap with Cerwin Vega's DSP 66 LCD. So what's really cool about this DSP unit is you have a on-unit display. So you don't have to hook up a computer, you don't have to use some kind of app or anything weird on your phone. You can make the adjustments right here on the DSP and see those adjustments on the little miniature screen. Now, I've read in other forums that folks kind of out there have said, depending on the screen size, they struggle with being able to make those tunes. So I'll be interested to see how we do with this screen here, because it's actually a pretty decent size. So I'm curious. Now, that is just going to provide us the tuning that we want for our sound system. What's going to bring that music in, though, is this guy right here. This unit has a Bluetooth dongle that plugs right into it and allows you to connect your phone to your DSP. So that is acting as your input. We have a 6-channel output. If you had a radio, there's 6 channels there to receive in, but we're going to send this out to our amplifier and then send that music out to our speakers. Now, the last thing we want to put in there, and this is really just icing on the cake, and I want to say, thank you to the guys out in Cerwin Vega for taking care of us. They provided some, they call this frog skin. So what this is it's a mesh that you can lay on top of your speaker. So it acts kind of like a speaker cover, right? And it's actually not waterproof, but highly water resistant. And if you look this stuff up on YouTube, you can find the display that they did at SEMA 2023, where they first brought this out. Now they make it for the 6x9s, they make it for the 6.5s, and I think they also make it for the 8-inch speakers. So if you're interested, check that out. We're going to do a little demo ourselves just to show how effective this mesh really is. So all that said, let's jump into the saddlebag and start hooking stuff up. All right, so I just wanted to kind of bring something up because this is super simple. Like, the wiring process is very easy. If you know how to wire up an amp, you're good to go, right? So because these two components are going to be right next to each other in the saddlebag, the wiring that exists between them will be minimal. So what it is the output from the DSP is going to be our 2 channels, so my left and right for the RCA, going into the input of the amplifier, and then our output is this, which is going to be speaker wires for the speaker that's in the same exact saddlebag, and then a set of wires for the other side, right? And we're going to run all of this through, and we're going to have some waterproof connectors that we're going to use in order to ensure that we're able to disconnect and remove our saddlebags. So if we're doing a detail or something like that, we want to be able to do that. And then we also want to make sure we protect those connections. So hence why we're going to use waterproof connectors instead of just regular terminations or couplers or whatever, right? So in order to hook this up outside of the RCA, you're going to have a remote wire. So there is a remote that goes into this. This will then pass that remote out and into your amplifier, because there's a little bit of a delay. And it's made to prevent speaker popping and stuff like that. That's generally for setups with a head unit, but we're going to use it anyways. We shouldn't experience any of that popping anyhow. So anyhow, we're going to have to hook up a power wire, 12 volt, a ground, and then we're going to bring in a remote power wire. So we'll get into that once we get into the wiring of the bike, and I'll show you where we're going to draw that auxiliary power from in order to power this stuff up. And then of course on the amplifier side, we've got 12 volt. We're going to run some 8 gauge wire to that with a fuse, and then we'll have our ground, which is going to also go out to the frame of the bike. And in order to bring that together, we're going to use a quick disconnect for an amplifier, so that way again we're able to do that quick plug and unplug when we want to, in case we want to remove the saddlebags. So very, very simple setup. The installation should be a breeze, and really it's going to come down to seeing how we set these things up as far as the tuning goes and just the operation of it. So that said, we'll go ahead and prep our surface in the saddlebag so we can mount this stuff in there, drill a hole in the bag because we're going to have to weave that wire through, and then get our quick disconnects, our waterproof quick disconnects all set up. So I'll go ahead and we'll get a little bit closer to this thing being tested out. All right guys, so got everything kind of ready to go as far as wiring and all that. This process I'm not going to cover. It really is, you know, just installing an amp. What I did do though is I want to point out a couple of things. So one is the 6x9s are out of the lids right now because we're going to apply the frog skin on them, and I want to demonstrate how effective that is with water for your speakers. So we'll do that. We're going to be using our 8 gauge waterproof connector for our battery connection to the amplifier. I've got some wiring that I pre-did up and using waterproof connectors. Now these ones you have to do all the soldering on. I think you can buy waterproof connectors that already have wires soldered to it, and you can choose like if you want a 2-pin, 1-pin, 3-pin, whatever. I bought a set from Temu that lets you make between 1 and like 4. I don't recommend the set because like all the single pin connectors were trash, so yeah, I wouldn't go with that. And then we have a fuse because we're going to want to have a fuse in line with our amplifier. I'm going to also have an inline fuse for our DSP, make sure we protect our equipment. And then I also wanted to point out, in the lid kit, it comes with the harness, and if you're putting your amp like in a tour pack, like you have a razor pack or something like that, this is really, really helpful because it'll run your speakers to your razor pack or your tour pack or whatever, and you can do quick disconnects. Since I'm putting mine in one of my saddlebags, technically I only need one wire going to the remaining speaker on the other side of the bike, and it would be kind of a waste of that harness. I can find a better use for that in a different application. So like always, I'll hang on to something and find another use for it. But I'll end up running just some speaker wire from that one to the other saddlebag. I'll use another waterproof connector, and that way we can connect it up to the amp and be able to quick disconnect whenever we want to. So let me go ahead. I'm going to get this thing into the saddlebags. It's pretty straightforward process. Now I'm going to do mine with the DSP on this front end. I'm going to use Velcro to mount it, and then I'm going to mount the amp to this flat surface because this has got not only my little pocket thing, but it also has, you know, it's not flat, so this would be a better surface to mount it to. And then we're going to run our wires. That does mean I will also need to drill a hole on the side of the saddlebag, and we're going to use a rubber grommet to kind of help protect from water getting in. But in addition to that, the lid kit comes with these guys, which is like a little teardrop cover. So you can probably face these, I'm assuming you want to face them like downward, so kind of like that. So as water falls from the sky, it comes down, it just drips off of it. So that's just another step. Although because these are chrome or silver, whatever you want to call it, I'm probably gonna scuff them up and paint them black. That way they just kind of hide themselves a little bit better. But yeah, so let me get all this stuff in place, and then I'll bring it back as soon as we're connected. All right, so I got my wiring done. I still have to add in one fuse, but I've got my power, you know, all lined up, and I'll walk over to the other side so you can see how I did that wiring there. But for the side or saddlebag where it's just the speaker, you can see I just kind of ran speaker wire through. On the back side of that, I've got a grommet, rubber grommet, so that way it helps seal the hole. And then these connectors I had left over from when I did the Road Glide amp installation, and so I just used that to cross these over, and that way I can feed in the amplifier and the DSP. So on this side, and I've got to kind of sneak in there, this is my connector that carries the 12 volts, the remote, and the ground for the DSP. And then I have, of course, the speaker wire, and then down here you'll see I have the 8 gauge connector that is powering the amplifier. So everything is running in through a larger grommet, and I've got to do a lot of wire cleanup, so I'm not going to leave it like this. And then of course I'm running my speaker wire to my speaker, and I've got the output going. So now all I have to do is fire it up, and we can start. We'll have to connect it to my cell phone for Bluetooth and do some tuning. So let me go ahead, and I got to do some cleanup, and we'll get to that part. Alright guys, so I had to move myself outside because it's a little hot in the garage, but as you can see, I haven't cleaned up my wiring yet, but I did want to show you what the boot up looks like, and then talk a little bit about how you navigate the DSP. Since it has its own built-in display, you're not doing it through a computer. And then just kind of talk a little bit through the settings. I'm not going to walk you through how to set up your sound. That's going to be all dependent on you. So the way I wired mine up is for the the ground and the power, of course, that's to the battery. Same thing for the DSP, the 12 volt power, and the ground, or battery and frame ground. The remote wire is going to the auxiliary switch on the Road King. So on your Road Kings, if you know, you got a switch there to the left. So there's one on the right, and that does your passing lights, and there's an aux switch on your left. So that's the plug that's underneath the seat. It's one of those douche or dash, I'm not sure how you pronounce the word for the connector, but it's a 4-pin, and just use a probe tester and you can figure out which one powers up when you flip that switch. If you do blow your fuse underneath your left panel, there is a fuse box, and on my particular model it was I want to say it was like a 15 amp. So just beware, you're gonna have some extra fuses if you need be, just in case. You never know when you're gonna short something. So anyhow, so let's go ahead and fire this thing up and take a look. All right. Okay, so I have my Bluetooth dongle plugged in. I've got it set up to connect to my phone, so when you do it, all you do is you set your phone to pairing mode, and you'll see Cerwin Vega, or whatever brand. If you're doing the Diamond Audio version of this, you might see Diamond Audio. Scroll up to that and pair it, and that's it for setup as far as linking it to your phone. Now, as far as setting it up here, the way you navigate through this is you have to push the button in, and that'll take you to your menu screen where you have source, you have level, RCA input and output config, your EQ, your high pass filter, your low pass filter, if you want to add a delay, link, and we'll talk about that in a few, then saving, loading, system settings, so that if you want to reset your stuff you can, and then exiting out of the menu. So we're not going to go too in depth on each of these, unless you guys tell me in the comments below you do want me to walk you through a page by page on this. There isn't a whole lot of detail available online, so if that's a gap that you'd like me to, you know, provide some info on, just let me know. But under source, oh, and if you don't navigate for a little bit, it will essentially reset itself to the start menu, or not menu, but start page, I guess you want to call it. So if you just wait a little bit of time, if it senses no activity, it'll move itself. All right, so first things first, you go to source and you can determine what source you want. So if you're going to do it through an RCA source, or if you're doing Bluetooth, then you would just press on the button and you can scroll through the different sources. So there's an RCA mode and Bluetooth, or you can set it up for auto, which means it'll determine where music is coming from. So of course we have no inputs, so obviously it's going to be through Bluetooth. Then you can set your RCAs, channels 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, if you want to go low or high on that. And then there's the exit. So really on this page, all I found for me in my instance useful was just the input source. So we'll go ahead and exit that. Under the level, this is where you can set your channels, and you can increase the gain, or actually decrease the gain. You can't increase the gain. If you want to increase gain, you got to do it on your actual amplifier. So we're not going to do that here. Now you have your RCA configurations, so you can go ahead and walk through these. So out channel 1, if you want, you can set 2 for an in channel, or you can set it off. So yeah, however you want to kind of configure it, right? Under the EQ, this is where you're gonna set each of, you know, if you think about a regular equalizer, the bands, you have to scroll through which band you want. So if you want to start at 1 is at 25 hertz, 2 is at 50, 3 is at 63, and each of these bands is adjustable. So if you don't want, say, band 1 to be 25 because that's way lower than what you want, then you could just scroll down to 25 hertz and adjust that up. And that way your band 1, if you want to start it at 70 hertz, you can do that however you want. And then once you have that set, the digital or numeric way of adjusting kind of your slider up or down is used through the gain. So you can increase the gain in increments of 0.5 and go up to 12. And really the best way to, I recommend doing it, I mean, you can do a professional with the microphone and all that stuff, but just put on your favorite tunes, go to a parking lot so you can play it nice and loud, and then make the adjustments, tweak it. Now I want to point something out. If you notice, mine says channel 1 and 2. That's because I've linked those 2 channels, and the reason I did that is because I don't want to have to do this twice. I only want to have to do it once, and I want the same sound because they're in the same exact enclosures, you know. 1 and 2 are the same enclosure, so why do the same walkthrough? So the way you link that is in the screen menu that says link. You just go there and you can link what channels you want to. So if you want to link 1 and 2, you can do that. 3 and 4, you can do that, you know, and 5 and 6. So that's kind of a neat feature, so that way you don't have to spend all day, like, you know, doing those settings. And then you have your high pass filter, so you want to set that whatever you need. So per channel, So like I have my high pass set to 70 Hertz. I don't want anything really below that, but if you wanted to, you can just scroll down to that, reduce it down to say 65, go to channel 2, reduce that down to 65, and then if you want to address your octaves, you can go and do the same, you know, process. Now I will tell you, this doesn't like pick up the spinning of this wheel very quickly. So if you go too fast, so like I'm spinning it quickly, it doesn't like zip up. You gotta just kind of one click at a time it. If you don't, then you're gonna just get frustrated. So just take your time and yeah, work through that process. So I'm gonna go ahead and save my setting. That's gonna be preset A. So if you want to change up your presets, maybe you have very specific taste in how your sound is as you listen to particular music, then you can go ahead and say, okay, I want my preset A to be this configuration, preset B to be different. If you're listening to like the difference between rap and rock music, right? You want heavier bass, whatever it is. In the system settings, you can go to backlight. You can either turn that on or off. Oops. Let's go back in there. You can go back on or off. You can set the contrast, so if you want that backlighting to look washed out or super dark, you can do that. You hit restore. It doesn't replace, like if you have your Bluetooth set up, it's not going to wipe that out, but all of the EQ settings that you've done, it'll wipe that out. So you kind of do it like start from scratch as far as things go. And then there's an about page, which is going to give you kind of your information, right? So it is a very simple deal. I love the fact that you don't have to hook up a PC. I will tell you though, it is a little bit, you got to just be patient and work through the knob by clicking and spinning in order to get to the settings that you want. So just know it's, just like anything else, you want it done right, take your time, do it right. So let me go ahead and I'm going to clean up my wiring, and then yeah, we'll go out to a parking lot or something and see what this thing sounds like.
Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have it douse, not what I'm about, have your cloud. It be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me.
All right, so there you go, guys. You hear it. It is freaking loud. It sounds amazing. I can't wait to do my 30-day review on this to see what it sounds like after I've ridden with it on highways and whatnot, to really get a good feel of how well these things are going to perform. But sitting here in an empty parking lot, this thing is banging. So it sounds amazing. I do apologize. I know I talked a little bit about the frog skin covers. We didn't get those on in this video, but I will be showing those in another video just to really focus in on that application and how well it does it. So I hope you really enjoy this video. I hope it brings some value. And if you're looking for a package setup for your Road King, because you lack kind of the fairing, right? Like all the electronics, but you want to hear tunes and you want to hear it really good, check out Cerwin Vega. They'll get you taken care of. See ya.